Luton, Rotherham and Stevenage are all projected to do poorly in the first season of Football Manager 2024. Luton are projected to finish in 19th, Rotherham are predicted to finish in 24th, and Stevenage are projected to finish in 17th. In this video, I'm going to look at a plug and play tactic and test it out with all three teams as we look to see if the tactic can help them all beat the drop. So Knap is one of the very best tactics creators in the Football Manager 2024 community. So in today's video, I've took another one of his tactics and I'm going to run some sims using Luton, Stevenage and Rotherham to see what happens when you take the very best tactics and run tests using underdog teams in FM24. Now, as always, if you want to get on with this tactic straight away and you want to download the tactic, there will be a link in the description down below. If you download at this point, the only thing that I ask is hit the like on the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of these videos. There are other Knap tactics reviews that I'm going to be doing, and there are some that are already on the channel. If you want to have a look at those too, feel free to do so. As always, we're going to break this tactic down by going position by position, show you the in possession, the in transition and the out of possession. But if you're just here for the results section, feel free to jump forward to that too and see how it will get on with Luton, Stevenage and Rotherham. But if you're here for the long haul, let's break this tactic down. Starting off at the back with a sweeper keeper set to defend. On the left, you'll have a wing back set to support. You'll have two ball playing defenders set to defend. And on the right, another wing back set to support. You'll have a defensive midfielder set to support. A segundo volante set to support. On the left, an inside forward set to attack. On the right, an inside forward set to attack. And at the top of the pitch, two advanced forwards, both set to attack. As with most of Knap's tactics, they come with a custom Tilpa set tiki-taka tactical style. The mentality is set to balanced. The in possession will look like this. The in transition will look like this. And the out of possession will look like this. So that's a run through of the tactic, all of the positions, the in possession, the in transition and the out of possession. The only thing to do is jump to the results section and see how this tactic will get on with Luton, Stevenage and Rotherham. Let's start off the results by looking at Luton. Straight away in the Premier League, you can see that they would finish in 11th place. They would get 49 points from 38 games, but would have a -8 goal difference. Quickly onto the domestic cups. In the FA Cup, they would get through to the semi-finals. They would lose in the semi-finals to Arsenal. And in the Carabao Cup, they would get through to the quarter-finals, getting knocked out by Manchester City. So some impressive stuff in the domestic cups. Let's have a look at the Premier League in a bit more detail then. So you can see that they would play in 38 games, 13 wins, 10 draws and 15 losses for a -8 goal difference and 49 points. In terms of player stats, Adebayo would score 16 goals in the league, and that would tie him for second with Darwin Núñez. The only other stat that you can see on the screen while it's just behind me is Marvelous Nakamba would get 14 yellow cards. If we look at the squad page to see how they would break down the goals and assists, so Adebayo would get 20 goals in total and 10 assists. Brown would get 12 goals and 3 assists. Ogbeni 10 goals and 7 assists. Further on down, you can see that Ross Barkley would score 5 and have 9 assists. And then you would have Chong with 2 goals and 5 assists. If we look at the data hub to see how it would play out in terms of the numbers, so conceded per game is 1.55. Expected goals against per game is 1.7. They had 11 clean sheets across the season, and the possession won was 3-7-1-5. Looking at the attacking numbers, goals per game quite low at 1.34. Non-penalty expected goals 1.29. Only 9 shots per game. Shots on target ratio was 46%, and they had a pass completion ratio of 85.48%. So despite having some average numbers, and in fact some below average numbers in terms of the attacking, to finish in 11th place is actually fantastic. And the reason they had the -8 goal difference is because they couldn't score goals rather than conceding so many. So it's a positive start for Luton, 11th place in the Premier League. Let's move on to the next team. Up next, we are looking at Rotherham in the Championship. and we can see that they would finish 8th place in the Championship, getting 77 points from 46 games, and they would have a positive goal difference of 28. We'll come back to the Championship in just a second, because in the FA Cup they would get knocked out in the 3rd round by Bournemouth, and in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup they would come up against Manchester City, and that would be the end of the Carabao Cup run. So in terms of the Championship, let's have a little look at how the league table would finally stand. So they would play 46 games, they would win 22, draw 11, lose 13, have a 28 goal difference, and finish on 77 points. Now, that is quite impressive because they would only finish 6 points behind Norwich, who were in 5th place, and 7 points behind Southampton, who would end up getting promoted through the playoffs, and they would finish in 4th place. Looking at the stats, there are no players in any of the categories there, so let's jump to the squad page to see how the goals and assists were broken down. So Kelly would get 19 goals and 2 assists. Nom would get 14 goals and 2 assists. Further on down, you'd have Rathbone with 5 goals and 12 assists. You'd also have Bramwell chipping in with 1 goal and 12 assists from left back. Looking at some data hub numbers then, in terms of the defending, conceded per game was 1.41. Expected goals against per game was 1.37. They had 13 clean sheets across the season, and possession won was high with 4-4-2-4. Looking at some of the attacking numbers then, goals scored per game was 2.02, non-penalty XG was 1.76, 12 shots per game, and a pass completion ratio of 86%. So a decent overall look at Rotherham. They would finish 8th in the Championship. They wouldn't do too great in the domestic cups, but to be so close to the playoff places is an achievement with Rotherham. The final club to look at is Stevenage, and straight away you can see that Stevenage have won Sky Bet League One, impressively getting 92 points from 46 games, and they had a goal difference of 59. We'll come back to that in just a second. In the FA Cup, they would get knocked out in the 5th round by Tranmere. In the Carabao Cup, they'd be knocked out in the 1st round by Gillingham, but they would do a double this season by winning the English Football League trophy. If we have a look at how they got on in the final, they'd play against Notts County, and they would beat Notts County 2-1 in that final. In terms of Sky Bet League One then, in the league table, they would play 46 games, they would win 28, draw 8, lose 10, have a goal difference of 59, and they would get 92 points. Now, crazily, they wouldn't have a player in the top 3 for goals, but they did have Dan Butler get a 7.33 average rating across the season. He would get 15 assists, and he would also get 6 Man of the Match awards. Look at the squad to see how the rest of the numbers break down then. Jamie Reid would be top goal scorer with 21 goals and 10 assists. Elliot List would get 18 goals and 5 assists. Harvey White would get 14 goals and 11 assists. Jordan Roberts would get 13 goals and 11 assists. And further down, Dan Butler would actually get 22 assists from the left-back position across the season. We'll look at the data hub just to see how the defending numbers were first. Goals conceded per game was 1.22. They would keep 14 clean sheets. They would turn the ball over 4,276 times. In the team attacking, goals per game 2.50, shots per game 12.5, shots on target ratio was 46%, pass completion ratio was 86%. So a fantastic way to end the test. With Stevenage winning the league, you would have Rotherham do pretty well in terms of the Championship, and you'd have Luton finishing in 11th place in the Premier League. It seems like Stevenage, it fitted like a glove. They got everything right with the goal difference and in terms of winning both the league and the Football League trophy. Maybe not with Luton in the Premier League, but certainly you can have a go with this tactic. If you get the right players, it seems, I think it could work a treat if you can build a team around your tactic.